The world we live in may seem confusing, full of conflict, of people fighting for differing ideals. Every day we see pictures of violence, and we may well ask, why do people behave the way they do? It sounds a simple question, but it is one that has never been resolved, though many may profess to know the answer. Some say that man is aggressive by his very nature and that fights are inevitable. Others, that it's the inequalities and injustices in society that make people aggressive. It's tempting to look for simple answers, but those of us who do will be disappointed. To organize a complex society, we have to know a little about what people will do, and as most of us are creatures of habit, we are in some ways predictable. Every day, 419,000 people enter and leave London by train in the rush hour. That may not sound important, but if you were running the railways for those people, you'd be very interested. And there are others who've got some idea of how we behave. Sales of boiled sweets and fruit gums rise steadily through the summer. This happens every summer, so the manufacturer can run his factory accordingly. But what about us as individuals? Before we start to understand ourselves, we ought perhaps to look at some simple creatures and see how they behave. From the moment they hatch out of the egg, these blackbird chicks know how to feed. The adult bird gathers food, and every time the parent lands on the nest, the chicks open their beaks to receive the worm. They do it quite automatically. A tap on the nest is the stimulus which makes the fledglings gape, and they'll do it when there's no bird there to feed them. This is an example of innate behavior, where a stimulus, tapping the nest, produces a response that is quite instinctive. Here's another example of innate behavior. These black-backed gull chicks peck at a red spot on the parent's beak. The parent responds by bringing up partially digested food. The chicks never learnt to do it. They do it quite automatically, but without this instinct, they would never survive. The colony these young grow up in contains nearly 10,000 birds, and there are rules of behavior which help keep the peace. Each male gull has a piece of territory of a few square meters, and he lets everyone else know that it belongs to him. This cry means, "Here, I rule," okay? Should, however, another bird trespass, then there's a fight, but very rarely does it lead to bloodshed. Which bird will win is seldom in doubt. It's almost always the one who is on his own territory. And the other runs off. Neither bird is hurt. Each gull is secure in his own territory, but when two birds meet at a boundary, it's tricky. They want to attack, but they don't want to leave their own area. Instead, they peck furiously at the ground. This the biologist calls displacement activity. This kind of behavior over territory works in the interests of all. It helps the birds to survive. Each has his own area and will not invade another. As the young grow up, they leave the parents' territory, but have none of their own, so they must find somewhere else to flex their muscles. They know instinctively the movements for flying, but need practice to get airborne. Flying is largely instinctive, but the finer points must be learned through trial and error. The Pacific goonie bird can ride on currents of air for hours, but being a large bird, the young have some initial problems. And even when it is airborne, it must learn how to land. You should never do it downwind. But how much can animals learn? The tricks we pride ourselves in teaching them are highly entertaining. The chimps at the tea party may seem to have adopted some of our ways, but these goings-on are based on what the animal would be doing in the wild anyway. Chimps need a varied diet, and in their native Africa soon learn to peel oranges without the help of man. The chimpanzee has a childhood of 4 or 5 years, and so much of his behavior is learnt from the adults around him. But it is difficult to distinguish between what's innate and what's learned. There seems to be an instinctive drive to build a nest in the trees, yet the young ones must learn how to do it by helping mother. Other techniques he may learn for himself by playing. Pushing a stick into a hole may start as a game, but he soon learns that it's a very good way of finding wild honey or termites. Friendships between chimps are maintained by mutual grooming, picking the fleas from each other's backs, and this helps to form a community life in the group. Because the chimps are distantly related to ourselves, they have received a lot of attention. These scientists were interested in the group behavior of the chimps when they face some sort of danger. A stuffed leopard is concealed in the middle of the clearing, close to the chimps. At the right moment, a hard pull on the rope, and out comes the enemy. At first, there's certainly a lot of commotion, but the chimps don't run off. They band closely together. They reassure each other by putting their hands in each other's mouths. Then, with the courage drawn from the closely knit group, they start to attack. Some are not quite sure what to do, attack or run away, so they scratch, another example of displacement activity. In the face of danger, the chimps will protect each other and act as a group. Each group has its boss, who displays his authority to all the others. So he gets many privileges, and during these displays, the others show their acceptance of his dominance. Whilst there's plenty of food and plenty of room, this hierarchy helps the whole group to survive. But in captivity, it's different. These monkeys, in a zoo, try to organize themselves in much the same way as the chimps, but they don't succeed. This monkey is an outcast. Hair has been pulled from his back, and he's been wounded. Grooming in the wild is friendly, but in captivity it can become aggressive. The boss still has his privileges, but the weaker ones, with not enough room to move, suffer. There's an obvious human parallel. In our own society, where territory is scarce and is not equally shared, perhaps the consequences are inevitable. We may have territorial instincts like the chimps, and we all need our little bit of space to live in. How much of our behaviour is instinctive? Are sights like this inevitable? Until recently, young children have been thought of as uncoordinated and selfish, and must be trained by society to fit in. Scientists are now revising their opinion. Watch this baby try to grab the ball. It looks wild and uncoordinated. But watch the videotape slowed down. The baby makes a perfectly formed grasp. He misses, but the movement is all there. It's like the flappings of a bird's wings. He knows the movements, but will have to practice in order to make use of them. In another experiment, a mother talks to her child on the left of the picture. On the right is a reflection of the mother, so you can see both faces at the same time.
No more smiles. No more smiles.
Even such a young child has more social ability than you'd think. His burbling and face-making may be quite significant. When the film is analysed in slow motion, the child seems to have a primitive conversation. He talks, and then she talks. Even his gestures are significant. Even at this age, the child has an instinct to be sociable.
Tell me, you've had your dinner, haven't you?
But society itself will have an influence. Our basic drives are moulded and altered by television and parents, fashion and friends, in a way that is difficult to unravel.
Okay, going back to the discotheque. You go there. I mean, what do you like? What makes a good discotheque?
You've got to have a lot of people there, I think, as well, to get an atmosphere.
And a lot that will get up and dance.
Most social behaviour has to be learned. Girls of this age can be very much at ease. Boys may be more shy, wanting to be with the gang and with the girls, may be conflicting drives. Faced with that problem, we, like many animals, may do something entirely different.
Get a drink first. Yeah, you have to wait till it gets warmed up and the boy starts coming out more.
They sort of all sit round the sides for a bit, and then a few people start dancing in the middle. Then the girls, then you join in.
So, do you, when you say join in, do you ask them to dance?
Yeah, you don't usually ask them to dance on the fast records, you know. You use on the really slow ones, the best one.
Why is that?
Get closer to them.
You don't handle a situation like this instinctively. You have to learn.
What about money? I mean, what do you spend your money on?
Money, school, parents, fashion are all studied to try and understand why the teenager behaves as he does.
What sort of boys do you like?
I think a boy should be older than you, because boys grow up much slower than girls. They catch them up in the end. But I think boys of our age group, you know,
and they're very short.
And they're older,
yeah,
they're more responsible, aren't they, if they're older, really?
Yeah.
and boys in our class, aren't they, ever small and childish kind of thing, aren't
Yeah,
they?
they're
Really?
so sort of immature. They're
Not
not
rowdy.
trying to impress you all the time by the things they do.
No,
flash.
yes,
Not flash.
not flash.
So what sort of things do you think are flash?
Smoking and all that, they just do that for effect, really, don't they? And drinking as well.
But lots of things. Smoking?
And drinking. Boys just do that. They go through a stage, don't they? They just...
The picture of behaviour this research builds up is the basis of an advertising campaign to sell a soft drink to teenagers. To do this successfully, the advertisement must show a world they would like to be part of with people they would like to know.
What sort of girls do you all like?
Blue-eyed blonde.
Blonde with blue eyes. And what do they have to be like in terms of personality?
But making ads is expensive, and teenage behaviour is unpredictable, so advertisers proceed with caution. First, these simple drawings are filmed. The rough advertisement can then be shown to a group of teenagers.
Tell you what, darling, this could be your lucky day.
Oh, yeah.
If you could answer a simple question.
Does the ad show the sort of boy she would like to go out with? Does the ad show a world they'd like to be part of?
Begins with P, ends with I, and you're drinking it.
An elephant.
That'll do. Where are you taking me?
The psychologist is interested in the reaction of the group to this trial ad.
What do you mean? What sort of personality? Let's sort of try and get together the personality of the sort of guy you like to go out with.
They've got to be interested in what you like, I think. They've got to have something in common.
Quite nice looking. It's got to be kind.
Kind, yes.
If the ad gets a good response, then large sums of money will be risked on the real advertisement.
You just know if they're friendly to you, kind of thing.
Tell you what, darling, this could be your lucky day.
Oh, yeah.
If you could answer a simple question, you could be taking me out tonight.
Terrific.
Here we go then. What's refreshing, fizzy, comes in a can, begins with P, ends with I, and you're drinking it.
An elephant.
That'll do. Where are you taking me?
Right. What was the guy like in that?
Tasty, yeah.
Tasty?
Yeah.
How?
Fancied himself as picking her up.
I wouldn't do it like that if that was me.
How do you do it?
More subtle. I wouldn't just sort of stand about like that. Just if I was dancing with them, then I'd say something like that to her.
You'd do it more subtly when you're
Yeah.
dancing. What about anybody else?
It's just his attitude.
Yes, but what is his attitude?
He thinks he can pick up any girl there is. So he tries to.
The lads may not like the boy in the ad. Teenage behaviour is unpredictable, but judging by the increased sales of the product, that advert appeared to work. Perhaps it showed a boy whom many teenagers admire. The advert is now part of our world, another influence on our behaviour. Because there are so many things that affect us, it's unlikely we will ever fully understand ourselves. But if each of us understood a little more about why we do what we do, then we might behave a little more thoughtfully towards each other.
Show me you're the one, 'cause a woman is the kind of a love I'm needing. Show me you're a woman, and I'll show you that I'm the man. Just give me what I'm after. It's the smile and the sound of your girlish laughter.